In today's show, we are honored of having a guest that helps our chronic pain community alleviate pain and discomfort. Susan Douglas, creator of the Douglas Method, has worked on conditions such as osteoporosis, joint pain, sciatica, joint hypermobility syndrome, and so much more. Today, we're diving in to talk about pain from a service provider's perspective. Are you ready for another chronic pain conversations? Let's go. Hello, and welcome to Chronic Pain Conversations. My name is Kalila Bruswell, the Overcomer, and this is my lovely guest, Ms. Sharifa McLaren. We are here to have a conversation about chronic pain. We share about our experiences, acknowledge the wide variety of chronic pain diagnoses, and look at other ways to manage chronic pain. So let's get today's show started. And as usual, we're going to start with our pain or pleasure. Sharifa, talk to me today. How are you doing?
I can't even lie. I'm doing okay despite a little bit of pain because the weather is bringing some aches and pains
Yeah,
first.
yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
even just the gloominess, it's
Yeah.
pain in the mood, man. Like it's been raining nonstop since yesterday.
Oh, okay. So it's raining by you too.
It's raining in Toronto, yeah.
And it's raining in
Nonstop.
California.
Nonstop.
Oh,
So
oh.
with that, with the arthritis, the joints start aching, all that stuff. So it's all right. I'm trying to make the best of it. A little bit of pleasure's there, but not really. How about you?
She's like a little bit of pleasure is there.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you can tell, my voice is
Yeah.
not the same, and my
Right.
voice has not been the same since like Saturday.
What were you
Um,
doing?
so I'm down here in California,
Right.
and part of the reason why I'm down here is because of one of my mentors,
Mm-hmm.
and his birthday is the same day as my mom, but they do things completely different out here in LA. Like we had like this mansion party, and I kind of helped like organize it. But it was really fun and it was really good. And happy birthday to Mr. Byron Nelson. You know, I love
Happy
him.
birthday.
Sharifa knows Mr. Nelson.
Yeah, I do. Question for
And
you. Question for you.
and
So
it no,
basically,
it wasn't the party though. Like
oh, okay.
it was helping out because you know how I am. Like, you know what I mean? When
Right.
it comes down
Right.
to the last minute, I'll jump
Right.
in. I did have a good time. I ended up being like an event helper for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sharifa, I couldn't walk by the time I got home. I had to put my massager, like, you don't understand how thankful I am that I have literally brought my whole pharmaceutical company with me. Like,
Basically, the whole medical store with you.
oh my God, I had to put my massager on my feet, mama, because my feet were hurting and
Yeah.
like all through my whole body and my back. And then I rested on Sunday. No, I didn't actually because I went back and I helped. My knee went out. Like I had to go swimming just to get
Right.
my knee to like get back in the motion of moving.
Mm-hmm.
And then yesterday I literally haven't left bed. And even today, it's just been so difficult getting up. Like it's just been, even when I was trying to get up, my body was like, where are you going?
Right. Right.
And this is like one of the conversations that we have in terms of pacing yourself and the
Mhm.
energy. And it's a very interesting situation here for me because I'm trying to do some of the things that I did in Toronto, but the climate, the elevation, all of these different things make this huge matter to
Yep.
me. And I'm still working on my body. Like I'm trying to get my workout. Not I'm trying. I am getting my workouts in more, but it's taking a toll on my body some days, mama. So,
Yeah.
you
I was
know,
about to say you left your voice at the mansion,
I left my voice at the mansion,
but
but
it was worth it.
yeah, see,
It was worth it.
this is
Once you said Mr. Nelson, that's not even a question. That was worth it. It was worth it.
this is why Sharifa, you guys, is so my co-host because I don't have to explain
Yeah,
anything.
no. Shout out to you, Mr. Nelson, because it was worth it.
I'm not gonna lie though. You know your girl got like old school in the chair dancing.
Oh, 100%. Like I said, all you gotta say is Mr. Byron Nelson. Done. Mic drop.
We're gonna hashtag him in here so that
right.
looking at this.
Exactly. But Kalila, I'm excited about today's show.
I am too.
Today's show is like a whole different perspective. Like we're not talking about just chronic pain with a guest, but it's from a business service provider perspective. So I am 100% excited.
Okay, so tell us about our guest, my love.
So our guest today is the creator, as we heard, of the Douglas method, the system that helps to alleviate pain and discomfort in many different conditions.
Right.
But I don't really want to say much because I really just want to hear it all from her.
Right.
So I just want to jump right into it and just bring on Miss Susan Douglas.
Come on in.
Hi, Miss Susan.
How are you?
I'm good.
Welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure. Fine. Yeah. As long as I can answer you some questions, that's fine.
If our audience notices, she has a lovely accent. She is actually, while it is morning and afternoon in California, she is one of our other guests from UK. She's calling from like the UK. So this
absolutely. So
I'm in Scotland.
I have family in Scotland.
Oh, nice.
I'm in Scotland. I'm Scottish.
Nice. So, Miss Susan, we want to first start off by asking you, what is your official service title? And would you mind sharing your journey on how you were inspired to be in your profession?
Okay. My official title, I call myself a body alignment specialist. And the reason I do that is it encompasses a lot of the interventions that I use. So I can't sort of say I'm a physio because I do different things from physios, but I do similar things. Okay. I don't do a sort of hands-on adjustment like a chiropractor, but I have devised ways for people to actually realign themselves. Yeah. I am a qualified massage therapist, clinical. So I sometimes use that, but not often. So I don't tend to fall into a filing cabinet of one thing. That's why I call myself a body alignment specialist. Yeah.
I love that.
Right. So I encompass quite a lot of different interventions.
Right.
What inspired me to do this? Well, I've done many things in life, but on the health and fitness side, I've lectured in every subject in health and fitness. So I've trained personal trainers, trained strength and conditioning coaches. So I'm also a qualified lecturer and assessor. And what I did was I tried to take a lot of my work, all these things, into classes. And when I started doing some classes for people to give them a bit more than just aerobics or strength, you know, a sort of whole body thing, I found that they were complaining of certain injuries or problems. Sciatica was one, frozen shoulder. And I just kept thinking to myself, it can't be that hard to fix. It can't be that hard to fix. And what my opinion is that everybody, I'm talking about practitioners here,
right.
Most people, what they do is they treat the symptom. Mm-hmm. So if somebody has a frozen shoulder, they treat the frozen shoulder. So what they do is they start moving it about. Well, that one is not very nice for the client or patient because it's going to be sore. So I just felt that they weren't looking at the root cause.
Right.
There wasn't enough analysis and consultation. And all that was happening was you came in with a frozen shoulder. It didn't matter whether it was caused by hypermobility, whether it's caused by osteoporosis, whether somebody had thumped you, unfortunately. Yeah. whether you had some other underlying health condition like arthritis that was causing it, and everybody was getting the same treatment. And I think that's why people are ending up with, some of you might get lucky because that's what it's happening. Some of you might not, and some of you might get worse. And it was that actually gave me the inspiration to start trying to find out how I could help people more. And that's really what set me off on my journey. One of the biggest ones that set me off on my journey was my dad, who had cancer of the blood, myeloma. And he's now not with us, unfortunately. He didn't die of that. He died of all the drugs that was put into him. So he actually had a heart attack, yeah? But myeloma is a dreadful disease. And what happened was he had a tumour on his spinal cord, which caused him to lose the power in his legs. So he had peripheral neuropathy, which he couldn't feel his feet, but he also couldn't walk at one point. And he got the physio in, which was through the NHS in the UK. And they did as much as they could, but he wasn't happy with what was happening, and neither was I. And I eventually took it on board myself. And I'd never done anything like that, but I was so desperate to help him that I actually came up with a way to refire the signals from his brain through a certain way. So I used kinesthetic feedback, which I developed that technique with my dad, and I got him back driving and bowling. That's really what lit the fire under me, was that one. And since then, I've just constantly had lots of people phone me and say, look, I've been to physio, I've been to a chiropractor, blah, blah, blah. I'm not getting any results. Why do you think you're going to get the results? And I say to them quite simply, it's not that I'm doing anything, you know, they're not doing anything wrong. They're all marvelous at their jobs, but they're quite siloed. They're quite siloed in what they do. Yeah, so it's very unusual you go to a chiropractor, and I'm sure somebody might come in and tell me how I do it, and that's great, but the majority will not sit there for an hour, if it takes an hour, or if it takes me an hour and a half, and I will work out the cause or the probable cause of why that has happened. And only then, in my opinion, can you even think about trying to give somebody the correct treatment.
Right.
Okay, so that is how I work, but that was how it inspired me on the journey.
Okay. Susan, question for you.
Yeah.
What, just so that our audience knows, what kind of chronic pain conditions and surfaces are you most familiar with? Because I did bring things up like the osteoporosis and the joint hypermobility, but what are some of the other conditions that we don't hear about, that people might be watching, some of our audience members might be watching, and you may be able to assist them with, or maybe their family and friends
Okay. Anything musculoskeletal, so anything mechanical, yeah?
Okay.
If somebody comes to me and they have maybe sort of a stomach issue or, you know, other things like that, you know, ulcers and that, I say, no, it's not but I have a colleague who is the most amazing nutritionist or that, and I'll put them in touch with people like that. But if it's mechanical, so, I mean, there's numerous. You've osteoporosis, which is something that I can't cure. It can be supported with medication, but it can also be marvelously supported through diet, as can many conditions, yeah? Arthritis is one that I do deal with. So again, I can't cure your arthritis, whether it's age-related or inflammatory, which is usually junior arthritis. Again, it can be supported very well with other reasons, but I can support it by supporting the tissues with the correct interventions around the joints. So that would be a double sort of helper. I would help with that, and I would say, I think you need to go and do that, yeah? What else? Sciatica, that's a massive one. There's so many people with that. But there's many reasons why sciatica is caused. And if you don't look at the reason, we're back to the reason again, yeah? Then how on earth can you give the correct treatment? What other conditions? Frozen shoulder, that's quite a big one, yeah? Herniated discs, prolapse disc, bulging disc, slip disc, they all mean the same thing basically, sometimes different degrees. And it's when the disc between the vertebrae moves. It usually pops out to the back or to the left or the right. So you get a lateral herniated disc or out to the back. So that's one that I deal with. A lot of people can have problems like desiccated discs, where the discs, it's like coconut. So the discs have disintegrated, yeah? You might have people who have a degenerative disc disease. You might have people who have got fractures in their spine. And all these things, once you know exactly what's going on, you can apply the right treatment. So I can't help to repair somebody's degenerative disc disease. I know people that can help to repair it, and I'm talking more on a dietary side again, yeah, because I don't discuss drugs. It's not my field, yeah, so I just don't discuss it. So a degenerative disc, that can be supported with the correct stabilization exercises. Yeah, very specific. So, you know, there's so many. Trigger finger, that's another one. Sometimes people get trigger finger. I've developed treatments for that. Carpal tunnel syndrome, that's another one, yeah? I'm trying to think of conditions that people usually sort of... Bursitis, that's a massive one. Bursitis, right? Well, bursitis is a swollen bursae, and you've got bursae everywhere between the joints. Yeah. So again, somebody's saying, I've got bursitis on my hip. Well, there isn't a magic exercise because you've got to work out why the bursies become swollen. Yeah. And this is what's happening. So people are saying, oh, I've got a program for bursitis. And I'll go, no, you can't, because you don't know why they've got bursitis.
So yeah, what treatments or medication or alternative medicine do you provide in the chronic pain community for those dealing with those different type of illnesses?
If I had somebody who I decided that they needed some other support, so say it was somebody who had, let's say it was somebody very young who had degenerative disc disease. Right, now that is definitely an immune problem. That's an autoimmune disease coming in, yeah? So there's no way that I would say, right, I can remarkably cure your spine. I can help you to support your spine, and sometimes they don't need other interventions. But let's face it, if your discs are starting to crumble, you're not in a good place if you're young. And yes, there might be medication, but I would advise them to get in touch with somebody who had dealt with that on a clinical level through nutrition. Yeah, that's what I would advise. And I have seen with other patients great results with it.
Susan, one of the things that you mentioned before and you just brought up again is terms of your condition and your diet. So how do you educate your patients in terms of their illnesses to cope with it? Not just educating them about it, but like
it depends. It depends what the patient presents with. So if I have a patient with sciatica, I fix it. It's as simple as that. I fix it. I work out why they've got it and we get rid of it. 3 sessions usually and it's done. 3, right? It's gone. If I have somebody who comes to me, and here's a good example. Joint hypermobility syndrome is one of the specialist areas that I deal with. And what happens is that's a connective tissue disorder, right? So I've had patients with hypermobility and they've come to me after years of pain. I have given them a bespoke program for them after analysing what it is that is unstable with the hypermobility, and their pain goes. But within my consultation, I would advise them, because I have to have high principles and say there actually is a reason why you've got this. And if you want to support it further, because it may cause problems later on in life, you might end up with something else and not just hypermobility, then I think you should address it by looking more at your diet. Yep, and then I would pass them on to somebody. I wouldn't go into it too much because it's not... I have lectured in diet and nutrition at colleges, but not at the level that they require to possibly help them.
For a brief moment, can you help us? Because this is one of the things that myself and Sharifa are so big on when we try to explain to our chronic pain community that diet plays an effect in our pain and our alleviation and our management. Why is it that you feel that, the food aspect is so important? We'd love to hear this from a service perspective point of view.
Well, the trouble with food is that it does cause so many problems. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can put my hand up here. I'm proof of the pudding on this one. I had an autoimmune disease. I still have the autoimmune disease, right? Mm-hmm. And you've got to remember these diseases present themselves to you in different ways. So my disease presented to me with a condition which made me go blind at any time. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Now, I fought that for 27 years, and I met my nutritionist. She came to me to help her mechanically, and she helped me. And I got rid of that autoimmune disease, and I was off all medication within 3 months.
Wow.
Okay. However, a lot of conditions are nothing to do with diet. Mm-hmm. So it depends what condition you're talking about, yeah? Mm-hmm. And you see it quite a lot. Bursitis is quite common. A lot of people will say, because bursitis is an inflammatory condition of the bursae, the minute people hear inflammation, they do tend to jump on the food wagon.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean that it's caused by food. Right? So if I had somebody, which thankfully doesn't happen very often, and I can't fix them, it's usually they've got like desiccated discs and they need a spinal fusion, right? But if I have somebody and I think, no, there's some other inflammation going on there, I would refer them, yeah? But I don't often do that. It's usually, if I have a patient coming to me, like I did one lady, and she sat there and she said, right, it's my legs, I've not power in my legs. And I immediately knew, I had a sneaky feeling what it was. And she burst into tears. And she said, I was diagnosed with MS today. And I said, oh, don't worry about it. I know somebody who can help you with that. Right? Mm-hmm. And she did. She went to the said person and the lady is fine. She's fine. Now that was dietary. Yeah, that was dietary. That was inflammatory. However, with other things, it's not diet. So you've got to try and get the fine line of, you've got to try the mechanical aspect first. Yeah. Okay. You've got to try it first, but you've got to get the right treatment. And if you just keep getting a general, so as I say, the shoulder one's quite a good definition. You go wherever with a sore shoulder, and somebody says, right, there's a shoulder treatment. There's an example, right? I did a Zoom there to, I'm not good, she was in America, Louisiana, can't remember the name. It was in America, and I just came off it at 3 o'clock. And okay. She was given certain exercises, right? She was given certain exercises because she's got a frozen shoulder. She can't move her arm. It's really sore. She's also got arthritis. And the exercises she was given, one was to take her arm forward, stretch forward, right? Well, that compresses the shoulder joint. So I told her not to do it, and I didn't care who told her to do it, but I didn't want her to do it. So immediately, I just started giving her different exercises for what was going on in her body. Yeah? So this is why it's so important that you need to work out what you think is the probable cause. Yeah? That there is no generic exercise for conditions. Yeah? There isn't. And even when you get to that, it's like somebody saying, right, okay, I've got osteoporosis. Right? So somebody's got osteoporosis, but there's different degrees of osteoporosis. So you might say, well, we want to strengthen the muscles at their back for their osteoporosis. Okay. And what happens is you all get given the same exercise. But you've all got different degrees of osteoporosis, and you've all got other things going on. So you can't even give the same level of exercise to everybody.
Right, right.
You get it? Yeah. Yeah.
Miss Susan, what does your patient's lifestyle look after receiving these treatments? You said if someone with sciatica came to you, you would just fix it. Do you have any patients that do come back to you?
No.
What does it typically look like?
No, I never have them come back. I have never had a patient for a repeat treatment, ever.
So are your patients then living pain-free? Are your patients able to just manage their pain?
Most of them are pain-free because they've been mechanical, so it's been sciatica. The pain that they had prior to coming to me has reduced. If they've got pain and it's caused by something which is not mechanical, then I can't really do anything about that. But most of them are pain-free because they always say, "Can I come back?" And I'll say, "If you come back to me, I haven't done my job correctly."
I like that.
Simple.
Here's a question for you. One of the things that I actually love in what it is that you've been talking about is that you have a really good referral program. You recognize what lane you need to stay in, and you recognize who you need to be able to, refer somebody to. So whether we're in Canada, the UK, America, are there any specific groups or specialists or associations that can help our chronic pain conquerors? Are there any things that you can see in terms of, because I know it sounds really crazy, but a lot of our chronic pain conquerors don't even know that there's resources out there. So how would you tell a one of our conquerors, go and look for a specialist or look for an association that does this? How would you tell them to go about looking and researching before they just get a referral somewhere?
Well, I think, first of all, it depends on what's wrong with them. Yeah. So if you said to me, right, what would I do with somebody who had junior arthritis or arthritis at a young age? Right. I would say, well, you could get, I think support around the joints would be a good idea, but you have to have the correct person to do it because there's so many people that say, "Oh, I can do that. I'm a personal trainer. I used to train personal trainers." Yeah. And trust me, that's not on the syllabus. Yeah. So they might go and look into it more, which is fine. But, if somebody's got arthritis and they start chucking them around the gym with heavy kettlebells, it's going to end up disastrous. Right. Yeah. So everything should be very subtle. So before somebody does anything with you, they should test you. They should look at what your range of movement is. Yeah. They should maybe get you to do your hand in a movement that they want to do and get you to push against their hand. So if their hand shakes when they're pushing against your hand, it gives you a really good inclination that they're really weak. So what kind of exercise are you going to give them? So the lady today, she came to me, she had trapped nerves here. She's got they said it was a rotator cuff injury. I'm not convinced, but I'm getting rid of the pain, right? But what's happened is I've got to get the strength in the back of her body. So an exercise that I might give might be a band, just gently pulling and holding. I might not even move it. That was far too powerful for that lady, and it set off the nerve. So I had to take her exercise and strip it right down. And she actually ended up with, I'll show you what I did with it. I put her arm there with a cushion behind it. Mm-hmm. Can you see that?
Yeah.
And she just gently pushed against the cushion. And that meant that I worked the rhomboid muscles exactly the same way as I would with a band.
Right.
Or in the gym with a rowing machine, wide. But what I did was I dropped the levels. Yeah, and that's where there's a bit of a problem as well, is the levels. But I've always been massive on levels. It's just a skill of mine. So yeah, you need to find out the correct person, and if it's something where we think it's dietary, then find somebody who's really good. But you need to make sure when you're talking to them, you need to listen. Are they actually analysing it? Are they asking questions? Or if they're just pushing off the computer and typing out the same program for everybody?
That is so smart. I love it.
I think you're just a case of it's going to get lucky.
Right.
Yeah, I've had many conversations, and I sat and had a conversation with a doctor in charge of clinical research. And the reason was I wanted to do my doctorate. And she actually advised me not to. She said, I don't think it's a good idea because, one, how can you research what you're doing? And she says, I think there's another way around it. I've since found out the way around it, so I've got my fingers crossed. But she actually said that we're going to have to start doing things more like what you're doing, where we have somebody who can analyze what and why that happened.
Right.
So I could have somebody, I would love to do something like that, where I had somebody analyze and Zoom do that, and I had trusted people that I could say, I want you to do a release on that muscle, that muscle, that muscle. I want you to do strength on that, and I want it at that level, bang, bang, bang. Okay. I would happily send them to those people. But at the moment, I'm doing everything. I'm analysing, doing the consultation, and then I'm doing all the exercises and designing self-help treatments for people.
Right.
Yeah. So, but it needs, the analysis is absolutely paramount. And I honestly think that's where things are going wrong.
So do you know of any upcoming treatments, popular treatments that have maybe been started but not really out there yet that you can share with the pain community?
Well, I do have one that I'm hoping to get to research. I've been trying to get it to research for years and years, and I have fingers crossed, and it's a treatment schedule that I developed. And the reason I've put it out there to research is because I want it to go to other people. But I do it in my private clinics. I use it on people because it works. But if I can get it out to the NHS and things like that, then yes, it'll be available for other people. Definitely.
Susan, we always ask our guests to give us a quote, and yours was so simple. And I wanted to know why you said it. Your quote is, there is always a reason. Can you tell us, why you decided to share that quote with us as an inspiration for our audience?
The reason I use that, which was my quote, is that there is quite simply always a reason. So before I can do anything and before I can apply any treatment, you have to find out the reason. But it's actually very true for anything in life, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's not just about what I do. Mm-hmm. There is always a reason. So if somebody says to me, I've got osteoporosis of the spine, well, there's a reason why. There is a reason. It's either age or it's a genetic disorder. It's quite simple. Yeah? If somebody's got arthritis, why have they got it? Well, you either did too many bungee jumps and too many step classes, or it's a genetic disorder. Yeah? It's the same with anything. It's the same with my horse. Why did he spook the other day? He spooked the other day because I met this woman on a crazy horse and her horse bolted. There's always a reason. And until you find what you think the probable reason is, I honestly don't think you can treat it. It's like a car. You've got a car with four wheels. One of the wheels keeps coming off. And you keep going to the garage and you keep putting the wheel back on and tightening the bolts. Right? There's a reason why that wheel's coming off.
Susan, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for taking
You're welcome.
Time today. Now, we want to just give you a moment because we're going to be wrapping up now, but I just want to give you a moment to promote yourself so that people know where they can find you, how they can talk to you. And I think one of the things is what I love about what's happening in our world nowadays is that someone such as ourselves, whether Canada, the US, wherever, they can still get and connect with you. Like this is so amazing with the internet. So could you please take a moment to just tell our audience members how they can find you on social media, what your details are when it comes to, your Facebook or your website, and then you can share that information. Can you do that?
Sure. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so you can get in touch with me on my website, which is www.thedouglasmethod.health. And we'll put the links up here after we've finished as well. I'm sure the girls will do that for us. You will find me on Facebook under Chronic Pain Relief, the Douglas Method. You will also find me on my private Facebook, which is Susan Douglas. I'm very transparent, as you can see, and nothing is hidden, and I always answer people's questions. I do also have a free group, which you're more than welcome to join me. It's Osteoporosis, Joint Hypermobility Syndrome, Sciatica, and you can come on in there, and I put up a lot of free information, videos, and just help and advice for people on there as well. I do consultations via Zoom. If somebody wants to do a consultation, I do a free 15-minute exploratory call, because I like to speak to my patients first. I don't like just to book them in. So that's an option. And I also have recently set up a membership group with 3 different levels. And that's for people to join who maybe can't afford doing a consultation with me, but I can get them under my wing and help them tremendously within the membership group. So there's lots of options for you there. And please do get in touch, and I'd be delighted to hear from you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So much for taking the time, taking your evening. It's another time zone for us. We're going to say goodbye to you now, Susan, but we're going to ask for you to please stay in the back so that when we're finished the show, we can come and say hello to you and talk with you. But from the back of our hearts, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Sharifa. Like, you don't understand. You know me. I'm taking, like, you guys don't know this. I'm always taking
Yeah,
notes.
she's always taking notes, guys. Believe me. When we do our personal debrief, just me and her, she has this whole notepad, and she's like, and I'm just like, oh, okay. I was doing mental notes, but she was actually writing it down. Guys, we are very intrigued with the guests that we bring on. They surprise us every week, and it's never a dull moment.
Just to wrap this up, like, for me, what is so interesting, like, first of all, I love that we've been having our service providers, but there's 2 things that she brought up that I love. One, the first thing that she always wants to know is what's wrong with them, and a lot of our chronic pain conquerors, they don't know. They just have this diagnosis from the doctor and they stick with it. And, some of them don't even know when their onset pain came on. Some people don't even take that time. And I love the fact that Susan, works with her patients to go back to the root cause, which is part of what her quote is. There's always a reason. And so for our audience members, really and truthfully, even as, a chronic pain coach myself, when I ask these questions in terms of how did it come on? What was the onset? What age were you at? What are things that flare you up? All of these different things. I'm not going to lie, but about 80% of our people, they don't know. And I love that her as a service provider says that to them, and she gives them the option to, like, think about it, because a lot of our clinicians also don't do that. She is right. People will just come in and say, pick up a dumbbell. And so in her saying what's wrong, she knows how to work with them. And that's the other point that I put down in terms of, being able to, in reviewing that, one of the other things that our chronic pain community has is they want to rush back out the gate with their energy, and she will say, I'm not going to put you on a band, I'm going to put you on just the pillow. And a lot of people don't know that, that's where you need to start. And I've had that experience too. Like, we're sitting here, and last week I shared that I just started picking up weights, and it's been a year, and I have to start off with cones, light cones. So I love that perspective. What are
I want to piggyback off of what you said with her quote, there's always a reason. I 100% believe it. I think it's just for us to ask those questions. Just like she asked, I think we need to know for ourselves, not expect for someone to know for us. And I really like the fact that if she can't help you, like she said, she doesn't just leave you hanging. She has her resources that she can turn to and say, hey, I have this person, this is what they're dealing with. Can I refer them? Or she sends them and says, hey, I think this is a better option for you. You know, she's very honest, but she doesn't just leave them in the cold. She then puts them onto somebody that they can actually get the help and advice from. So I really love that about one of her services as well.
And this is the kind of service provider you want to look for your chronic
Absolutely.
pain clinics.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you might have to ruffle through, everything to find that one person or that service provider.
Yeah.
But her heart, her knowledge, her expertise, her ability to like use a community is the kind of service provider we're looking for.
Absolutely.
Take us
Absolutely.
into our keep it moving moment, because I'm like,
Okay, so here is our keep it moving moment for today.
okay.
There are so many people out there who will tell you that you can't. What you've got to do is turn around and say, watch me. I'm going to say it again. There are so many people out there who will say that you can't. But what you got to do is just turn around and say to them, watch me. Now, Kalila. So I chose this keep it moving moment, but it just came to me. That is a snap. It just came to me that believe it or not is true. And I firsthand have experienced someone look at me and say, watch me. That person with that watch me attitude is my late father. So reading this, I was like, hold on, why do I hear my dad saying this? I kid you not. I'd be like, Dad, you can't do it like that. You can't make it like that. Watch me. Listen, it's the absolute truth because he gets it done. And believe me, I don't know how, but the confidence right there, that keep moment right there is it.
That's my motto. Like, it's like, if you know me, like, whether it was the carpentry, whether it's like anything, like Sharifa knows me. She's been like, Kalila will make a mountain out of a I'll be like, just sit back, watch me. In fact, here's the popcorn and the chair as I do it.
Literally.
Literally. So I love that you picked that today.
Absolutely.
Guys, this is our show. Again, as much as my body might be hurting me right now, by the time these 40 minutes are over, I am more elated and more happy by what it is that we have experienced. So thank you again to Susan Douglas for coming on. My name is Kalila. I'm the Overcomer.
And my name is Sharifa McLaren Thomas from YouTube's The Thomas Life. We will be back next week, Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, same place, same stream.
We want to say thank you for joining us for another Chronic Pain Conversations. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube at CP Conversations. If you are a chronic pain sufferer that is turned conqueror, if you have tips on how to manage your chronic pain, your life through chronic pain, you are welcome to come in and to share your story. We invite you to fill out or share our story form on any of our social media platforms.
Absolutely. We also invite businesses and services, just like the Douglas method, that helps support or even caters to the chronic pain community, such as clinicians, alternative medicine providers, even chronic pain associations. We would like to hear from you as well. We invite you to be our guest or just promote your business. So again, submit your information, visit any of our bio links for that form.
Guys, we just want you to remember that Chronic Pain Conversations is the show that enlightens and advocates about chronic pain. We hope that you have an amazingly blessed week. Take care.